This is Skyway Robbery. Am I implying this game is hefty? Let's put things into perspective. The box for Skyway Robbery is exactly the same as Steampunk Rally, which weighs 1,330 grams, or about 3 pounds. Skyway Robbery weighs 2,530 grams, or over 5.5 pounds. That's more than the entire Oniverse, Viticulture, This War of Mine, or Azul. Believe it or not, it even weighs nearly exactly the same as Feast for Odin, one of the largest games one can acquire. It's not lined with lead. There is simply a lot in a small box, amplified by some thick boards and a lot of cards. No miniatures. There is no ration for error. So what is Skyway Robbery? Why, it's another in a long line of steampunk-themed games like Planet Steam, Sky Traders, Steampunk Rally, and Steam Park. And wait, I own all of these? I'm not even a big fan of the genre. Or rather, I'm not a fan of the term steampunk. But I digress. Where was I? This is Skyway Robbery, a steampunk game where players assume the roles of notorious criminal masterminds attempting to steal various artifacts while riding along a gigantic airship cruise liner. This is not some simple milieu, but rather an intricate theme the entire game rests upon. As the airship progresses to various exotic locales, criminal opportunities will unfold. The players are tasked with assembling a group of professional criminals, conduct daring robberies, elude various defenses, and protect their turf. But it doesn't stop there. Said locations, of which you pick 5 randomly out of the 10 available, carry their own history along with glorious illustrations. The Cavern of Dust, the Sky Council Chambers, the Jungle Temple, the Game Salute Headquarters, and Gen Con? Okay, these are bonus tiles and not canon, as they're only duplicate alternative options, but the rest all help to create a setting in entirety known as the Gaslight Empire, connecting a setting through multiple games, starting with Skyway Robbery and ending with it. Unfortunately, this is the only entry in the Gaslight Empire game series. Oh, they tried to make more. Chief Inspector and the City of Outcasts were direct sequels to Skyway Robbery. They weren't just thematically tied, they were actual sequels, with one taking place a year after the events of Skyway Robbery. Alas, the Kickstarter failed and these 2 titles were never released, leaving Skyway the orphan. However, this foundling is not some unpleasant outcast, but rather one of the prettiest games at its price point, managing to pull off such a claim despite not possessing a single miniature. The artwork on the various cards is astounding, but all of that is put to shame when you unfold one of the largest game boards I have ever seen. Setup does involve a few steps. Give each player a set of color-matched action cards and a player board. The boards are unique with specific character histories. They are also double-sided. One lists a unique dirty trick, the other does not. Instead, you would gain a random dirty trick with the option to do both, employing the character dirty trick and an additional trick. If using the character trick, you'd also gain this unique dirty trick card that indicates you have used said trick. Flip over any time on your turn to activate, once and once only. Next up, determine the airship's route for the game. Randomly select 5 location progress tiles. Place them on the airship track from least to greatest, shifting left to the right. Place the airship at the start. Next up are the card decks, and there are a lot of them, which the game does not do a very good job of explaining. There are gang cards, but several feature this arrow symbol indicating unique cards for each local heist. Go through those, remove the cards with numbers not corresponding with the locations being used, and place the others in their spot. The same goes with the unique equipment. The other decks are shuffled and placed in their respective spots. The gang member deck, the equipment deck, the turf war deck, the side job deck, the airship crew deck, and defense deck. Fill each open card slot in the airship with the indicated card type. However, don't fill in the dock positions yet. The airship is still en route. When a spot is emptied, when the card is claimed, that spot is immediately filled. Find the loot cards matching the 5 locations and place them in the board slot in the face-up stack in the order matching the locations. The game tells you not to place a location board until the end of the first phase, I guess to leave it as a surprise. Or you could, find the boards and place them face down in numerical order. I mean, you could do that. God knows this game takes up enough real estate already. Finally, give 8k in ingot tokens and deal 3 gang member cards face down to each player. Each player then selects one of these cards, places it face up, pays for it, or places it in the brig without paying anything, and passes the other 2 cards to the left, what is known in popular circles as a draft. Each player then buys or discards to the brig another card. The final card is then deposited into the brig. All hired gang members are then added to players' hands. The player with the highest amount of remaining money receives the starting player ticket. If there's a tie, roll all 5 dice. The player who rolls the most escape symbols goes first. Oh yeah, there are dice. Forgot to mention, they don't come up that often. The game employs victory points gained from the various jobs with additional points based on money earned. Most points win, as one would expect. Play can finally begin, which centers around these color-coded cards. What I feared initially would be a simultaneous action selection game turned into an action program game. Each round consists of 3 steps. Each player first secretly selects 3 action cards and places them face down on his or her board in the order of desired resolution. The card left is 1, the middle is 2, the rightmost card is 3. Once all players have selected their 3 action cards, the starting player for that round reveals and resolves his first card, followed by the other players to the left. The last player to play then plays his second card and the cycle reverses. Finally, the last player to play his second card is first to play his third card and the cycle reverses again. Pass the starting player token to the left and move the airship token 1 space to the right, replacing a location board and associated cards if necessary. There are 7 cards to choose from. Anonymous tip, the only card among the 7 that actively messes with another player, adds 1 alarm die to all illegal actions played during that turn. To encourage the use of this, revealing this card will also net the player 2 victory points for each die added this way. It should be noted, as this card is one of the few with a take that mechanic. In 2-player games with my fiancé, despite the victory point gains, this card never sees the light of day. Thankfully, there are 6 others to choose from. Using a skill involves referring to the arrow symbol some gang members possess. Play the action to activate 1 card. The rules specify gang members, so one must assume crew members can activate their skills at any time. I assume, because the rulebook never specifies. Once a card is used this way, it cannot be used again for the rest of the turn, even if you need that card to bypass defenses later. To acquire an asset involves gaining a card from the board. This can include gang members, equipment, or airship crew. You acquire them via ingots. Though with the crew, you can also threaten them by playing cards with a strength value total equal or higher to the value required. Like with skills, cards played this way cannot be used for the rest of the turn. The one issue with this route is that if you have enough strength to acquire a crew member, you'll probably have enough to do a turf war, but we'll deal with those in a minute. Acquired assets go into your hand and can be used that same turn. To pickpocket means to take 2k worth of ingots from the supply. With the repeat action, you repeat one of the other action cards you previously played that round. If the action card you select gives you a choice of 2 actions, you may choose either regardless of which one you did earlier in the round. This brings us to the illegal cards. The first brilliant move made by the designers is that each of these features 2 different actions, and you don't have to choose until revealing the card. Meaning if one becomes denied to you or rendered moot through the other player actions, you can opt for the second. The first is the local heist, or jailbreak. The local heist action allows you to carry out the heist at the current location, while jailbreak allows you to try to claim 1 gang member from the brig. The other card includes the turf war side job. The turf war helps you gain reputation by protecting your turf and roughing up local thugs, while the side job earns you extra money and reputation by performing a smaller version of the local heist. When it comes to illegal actions, you must choose gang or crew members. Gang members can be equipped with 1 piece of equipment each. If you select more than 2, for every additional gang member, you must also gain an alarm die, 1 for each additional crew member. Before seeing if your job will pull off, you must roll acquired dice. For every handcuff symbol, you must discard 1 gang member participating in the mission to place in the brig, which will most likely result in your mission being a failure. What's important about these dice is that technically you should never need to roll any of them, unless someone played the anonymous tip. I'm not kidding. In 3 games, we've only needed to roll them once, but it will happen. And with 4 out of 6 options being handcuffs, luck is not on your side. With the turf war, play a number of cards with a strength value equal or greater than one of the cards listed, beat the value, and gain the card, earning victory points. Simple. It's with the local heist, side job, and jailbreaks where things get complicated. There's no rolling for success in this game, an aspect I love. I don't think I truly conveyed the fact that I love the lack of randomness in these actions. I adore the fact that one does not spend a bunch of cards just to roll dice just for the dice to fail. If you have the right team with the right talents, you beat the challenge. That's it. Employing gang members allows you to circumvent defenses, which are represented by defense icons. If an icon is present on a challenge, whether it be a jailbreak, a local heist, or a side job, you must be able to bypass it. You can play a card that simply ignores one or more icons, or play a card with the matching symbol. Before we go into that, we must explain these symbols. All 31 of them. Local heists require a vault or a coat symbol. The other defenses are split into two types, powered and unpowered. With powered, we have blades, field, gears, pressure, magnetic, sonic, steam, and a good old-fashioned trap. With the unpowered, we have concrete, cave, darts, gas, glass, guards, ice, light rays, which I assume are lasers, magma, metal, platforms, pterodactyls, poisons. Wait, pterodactyls? Like dinosaurs? Huh. Sandstorms, snakes, sharks,
with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads,
Tesla coils, or a tower. Simply put, if your cards played contain symbols that match those required, you steal the item. With the side job, the symbols can be found on the card itself. With the local heist, they are laid out left to right across the current location. When encountering these smaller card locations, fill them with defense cards. This adds an additional layer of variety. The first turn has no location, so players can only take time preparing. When a new location is reached starting with the end of the first turn, look through the unique equipment and gang member decks and fill in the indicated slots in the dock with the matching cards, if such cards are available. Fill in any empty defense slots with cards. Some locations have fixed defenses already listed, and as the game progresses, these become increasingly difficult. Regardless, if you are committing a jailbreak, side job, or local heist, the rules are basically the same, with the local heist being generally more difficult than the side job, which is itself more difficult than the jailbreak. It is only the turf war that employs a different system. A gang member may bypass multiple defenses, but with 31 different symbols to deal with, it can still be difficult to gain a perfect match. Thankfully, there are ways to bypass the defenses without matching symbols. There are a handful of cards that allow you to ignore defenses, but outside of those, there is also the vent. Playing a vent allows a player to circumvent one defense except for the safe or code. However, this only applies to the local heist and the jailbreak. The side job has no vent. What all three locations have is a power bypass. Play a card with a power symbol and you will be able to circumvent all the defenses at a location with a blue halo. Unfortunately, the power bypass is defended as well. You must circumvent listed defenses in order to cut the power, which will then cut power defenses at that location. This may seem needlessly complicated, but it does offer alternative forms of entry at each of the three locations. Finally, with the airship crew, they can't carry equipment, but also do not count towards the 2 gang member limit before adding alarm dice. They also do not incur additional alarm dice themselves. However, they may only be used once and are removed from the game afterward. They cannot be sent to the brig. If you set off the alarm, 1 gang member is sent to the brig, discarding any equipment attached. If you still succeed, gain the side job or local heist reward. With the jailbreak, gain any 1 gang member of your choice. Remove all bypass defense cards, and with the side job and jailbreak, immediately replace them. Like always, any played cards cannot be used again that turn. The brig should always contain 2 gang members. When entering a new location, clear all the cards on the dock and replace them. Yes, this does mean that if no one is able to claim the local heist in time, the ship advances regardless. The game ends at the conclusion of the last round, which can once again be accelerated if a player claims the last loot card. Add up reputation points, converting ingots to points at a 2-to-1 ratio.
and that's the game!
It's no doubt obvious by this point that Skyway Robbery is a polished game visually, and despite initial doubts, it works mechanically as well. There were some initial complaints with overpowered cards, but I have not found that to always guarantee success. For example, 1 gang member allows you to activate the skills of 2 other gang members, which can include gaining 4K and a ship crew member for free. This may seem broken, except when I employed this every turn in one game, by the end, I still lost. The local heist offers so much of a reward, someone diverting to go after the turf war side jobs must dedicate wholly to that affair in order to offset the massive point gains for other players scoring the local heists. With 3 routes to gain points, it does mean a game like this works fantastically with 2 or 3 players, but with more, the game can begin to drag and become harder to predict, resulting in issues with strategy. Additionally, given the game's programming mechanic and level of secrecy, there is really no way to create a cooperative variant. It would have been impressive. A Steampunk Ocean's 11 would have really elevated this game to a different division. But I am up to the challenge. I know I said I love the fact that this game lacked player randomness, but there's really no way to make it work. The players now form a united team, a criminal organization. The objective of the game is to establish dominance in each territory as well as a certain point threshold to achieve success. The first change involves alarm dice and legal actions. Now, every gang member assigned to a legal action adds an alarm die, even the first one. Anonymous tip allows the removal of dice instead of the addition of them. In each location, the player must claim 1 side card, beat 1 turf war, and claim the local loot. Fail in any of these tasks and the game is lost. Additionally, the players must reach a certain point total. I start with 70 per character, so 140 for a 2-player game. At 3 players, I'd also add that 1 additional turf war or side job must be completed per location, and at 4, it would be any combination of the 2. Skyway Robbery is a fun game with decent mechanics and marvelous production design, but it unfortunately fell into obscurity. You can't even find it mentioned on GameSleuth's own website. And with the failure of the second campaign with no apparent sign of a relaunch, this franchise appears fated for crib death. And that's a shame. Better games are often forgotten, but exceptions occur. All too often, mediocre games survive to stamp a foothold. And that may be the true crime. This is Chris from Deus Ex Machina.